with David Jaffe. He's the co-director of Twiested Metal, and right now we're taking a look at multiplayer. So will you tell me what we're looking at right now?
Yeah, this is a mode called Nuke that's taking place on LA Skyline, our rooftops level in the game. And it's kind of, you know, we've been describing it as sort of our Twisted Metal take on Capture the Flag, but in essence really what it is we have 7 modes in the game, and we really wanted each one to be different, you know, and so this is one that's really team-based and sort of almost class-based, where, like, Drew, who's playing the game right now, is playing Junkyard Dog, and this is sort of the medic in the version of Nuke. So he can launch these taxi cabs that you'll see, and he can detonate them wherever he wants, and that ring sends out healing to all of his team, and the longer it sits, the more healing power it gives. And he can also sort of team up with other players in the game, like I think Juggernaut, who's like our big semi-truck with the tractor trailers driving around. He can drive into the back of Juggernaut, he can man the gun in Juggernaut, and take out the other enemies. But what's really cool is because he's the healer, he can also back out of Juggernaut when Juggernaut, who's like the most powerful character in the game, is about to get his, get killed, and heal him up, get right back in, sort of tuck safely away inside. So there's a lot of people think of Twisted Metal and really look at the surface, which is a lot of fun, a lot of destructibility and stuff like that. But there really is, especially with this new one for PS3, there really is just so much strategy and skill and tactics and just a lot of depth that we wanted to build into this one. So in this particular mode, you're trying to kidnap the faction leader of the enemy team, and Drew actually has one of the dolls, and she's dragging behind the car. You can kind of see right now, it's a little dark on the screen. And he's trying to bring her to this sort of wood chipper / missile launcher and feed her to that. And if
it's a wood chipper and a missile launcher?
Well, it's kind of,
a little bit excessive.
It is, but in this economy, we figured if you could kind of take 2 things that are valuable, like a wood chipper and a missile launcher, and merge them together, you're going to get more bang for your buck. And we're really all about saving people money. So the point is that, so now what he's doing is, so the other team's going to try to stop him from sacrificing, and every vehicle has its own speed, right? So Junkyard Dog is an extremely slow vehicle to sacrifice people, whereas like a sports car, which is going to get its butt kicked in the game, but can sacrifice really, really fast. So it's actually kind of cool, whereas Junkyard Dog, you only get a couple of them per level, so you have to kind of figure out strategically when you want to bring them out. But it's really cool because if you're driving around with Kamikaze, our sports car, he's really great at sort of playing defense and protection, so he'll be healing Kamikaze up while people are trying to take him out before he launches the missile. So all these different cars and sort of pros and cons of the vehicles work together. And in this particular version of Nuke, what you're trying to do is shoot the missile at the enemy statue, and you can get it, every time you get it, it's a point. And it's kind of like baseball, there's like 4 or 5 innings, and after all the innings run out, people with the most points win. But the problem is you don't see the statue right now because the people on your team in this mode have to be sitting on a pressure plate to raise the statue out of this building. And it sounds like no one on their end is being told they should do that. But let's see. Hopefully in a second you'll see a green triangle, which is your team, light it up, and now you'll actually see the statue rising. And as long as that pad back there is being protected and you're flying the missile, you can get your points. And I love the fact that on one end of the spectrum, we have like free-for-all deathmatch, team deathmatch. We have great last team standing where the teams share lives and have to work together and heal each other to kind of win the game. And we have kind of more straight-up games, and then we have these much, much deeper sort of team-based games and class-based games. And I think, we've been making Twisted Metal games, honestly, since '95 on the first PlayStation. And this one, I think, represents, myself, the guys out in Utah, really the game that we've been wanting to make, since we first envisioned it back in the day.
Relates most closely to the experience you'd have in like a shooter, like a Call of Duty online multiplayer, or it more closely to something you find in a racing game?
It's not. I mean, we in our campaign mode we have some racing segments just to break things up, but it's absolutely a shooter. It happens to be a shooter that takes place in vehicles. It's vehicle combat, but it's not a racing game. In fact, even if you look at the default controls, we sort of, gave into pressure, as we should have. I mean, if you set the controls for modern racing controls, like you can drive with the shoulder pads and things, but honestly, our default controls really are more mapped like a shooter because they happen to look like cars and they kind of drive like cars. But this really is kind of more of we've always called it like a fighting game in vehicles. So it's absolutely a cross between a shooter and a fighting game in Uno.
You balance if one team has a Juggernaut and the other team doesn't. How do you work with that?
Well, in ranked games, it's actually a really great question that we'll have to see how it kind of plays out online. I mean, but in ranked games, you have a limited number of certain vehicles. So you only have one Juggernaut in most ranked games. You have like 2 or 3 Talons, which are helicopters. You have like 1 or 2 Junkyard Dogs. So we would talk about this stuff, and I would always say, I get that a lot of people don't want to wear headsets. I get that a lot of people just want to go in and be lone soldier, and we totally have modes to promote that and to kind of make those players satisfied. For this one, what I love is if you really are a team or a clan that's really cohesive and you've trained, I love that we have a mode in the game that, like, when you ask, the team that's going to do well is going to bring that one juggernaut out at the right time when they need it the most. The team that's going to do well is going to say, you know what, maybe we should save our junkyard dogs because we're behind in inning 3, and let's make sure that we get a couple missiles off by making sure we've kept our junkyard dog in the garage and we haven't wasted him. And so it really is balanced in that way, in that, you know, everybody has the same amount of resources when they go into a battle, and it really has more to do with, you know, planning and the team games. Again, the free-for-all, go crazy, kill your buddies, it's fun.
And my junkyard dog is going to be exactly the same as somebody else's junkyard dog.
You mean visually? Or
no, in power.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Or visually too.
Well, visually, you know, they said we couldn't talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it. But one of the things I love about this game as well is that if you look, you know, I was, you know, getting into the industry when Quake was kind of all the rage and stuff, and I loved going online and seeing these crazy-ass skins. I remember one night I was like fighting like with Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, people had kind of created, you know, and today that's kind of lost a lot. You know, a lot of it's because it's first person, a lot of it's because, you know, your actual surface space to sort of creatively express yourself is very small. What's great is when we have vehicles, we have all this space to let players express themselves. So let's just say that that's certainly on our mind, and very soon we'll be talking about how your junkyard dog can be very, very different than mine.
Mine's going to be pink. You guys, if you ever want to find me online, I'm the girl in the pink car, uniform, helmet, everything. I'm pretty obvious. All right, so when can we see the game?
Valentine's Day, February 14th.
This is very romantic.
Yes, indeed.